The bridge of the Galactic Federation flagship, Eternal Dawn, hummed with quiet activity. Admiral Zektar stood before the massive viewing screen, his 4 eyes scanning the star charts that showed their patrol sector. The Hegemony fleet had been maintaining peace in this region for over 200 years. Nothing exciting ever happened here anymore. Commander Velash walked over to his station, her blue skin showing worry lines around her eyes. She had been monitoring the deep space sensors for 12 hours straight. Something was bothering her, but she could not put her words on it. "Admiral," Velash said in her soft voice, "I am getting some strange readings from Sector 7. Zektar turned his large head toward her. His species was known for being calm under pressure. "What kind of readings, Commander?" "Unknown energy signatures, sir, very large ones. The computer cannot identify what type of ship could produce them." The Admiral moved closer to her station. On the screen, he could see dots of light moving through space. But these dots were different from anything in their database. "How large are we talking about?" Zektar asked. Velash checked her instruments again. "If these readings are correct, sir, the main vessel is over 15 kilometers long." The bridge became very quiet. Every officer turned to look at them. In all of galactic history, no one had ever built a ship that big. The largest Federation battleship was only 3 kilometers long. "That cannot be right," Zektar said. "Run the scan again." While Velash worked on her console, another ship appeared on their screens. This one was much smaller and sent out a communication signal. "Admiral, we are receiving a message," said the communications officer. "Put it through." The screen flickered and showed a human woman sitting in what looked like a ship's bridge. She had brown hair tied back and wore a blue uniform that none of them recognized. "This is Captain Lisa Martinez of the diplomatic vessel New Horizon," the woman said. "We represent the United Earth Systems and request permission to speak with your commanding officer." Zektar had never seen a human before. He had heard stories about them from traders who visited the outer rim worlds. They were supposed to be a young species that had not yet developed space travel. "I am Admiral Zektar of the Galactic Federation Fleet," he replied. "Your ship appears to be traveling with an unknown vessel of considerable size. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." Captain Martinez smiled, but there was something in her eyes that made Zektar uncomfortable. "Admiral, we are here to discuss recent events in the outer territories. Our government believes there have been some misunderstandings that need to be cleared up." "What misunderstandings?" Zektar asked. "Your forces have been expanding into systems that we consider part of human space. We thought it would be best to talk about this in person." Velash looked at her screens again and gasped. "Admiral, the large vessel just dropped out of hyperspace. It is right next to us." Every officer on the bridge turned to look at the main viewing screen. What they saw made them all take a step backward. The ship that appeared before them was massive beyond anything they could imagine. It looked like a metal mountain floating in space. Its hull was dark gray and covered with armor plating that seemed to absorb light. Strange energy patterns moved across its surface like lightning trapped in metal. "By the ancient gods," whispered one of the younger officers. Admiral Zektar felt his 4 hearts beating faster. In his 40 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The ship did not look like it was built by any known species. Its design was too different, too advanced. "Captain Martinez," Zektar said, trying to keep his voice steady. "What is that vessel?" "That is the UES Leviathan," Martinez replied. "She is a Titan-class warship and the flagship of our response fleet." "Response fleet?" Zektar asked. "Yes, Admiral. We have been watching your expansion into our territory for some time now. Earth's government decided it was time to make our position clear." Commander Velash was working frantically at her station. "Admiral, I cannot get a proper scan of that ship. Every time our sensors try to analyze it, they get blocked by some kind of interference." "What about weapons?" Zektar asked quietly. "I cannot detect any, sir." "But that does not mean they are not there." On the viewing screen, Captain Martinez was talking to someone off camera. She turned back to face them. Admiral Zektar, I have been asked to inform you that Admiral Sullivan would like to meet with you in person. He is the commanding officer of the Leviathan. Admiral Sullivan? Zektar had never heard of any human reaching that rank. Yes, sir. He has been authorized by Earth Command to negotiate on behalf of all human colonies in this sector. Zektar looked around his bridge. His officers were all staring at the massive human ship. He could see fear in their eyes. In all his years of service, the Federation had always been the strongest force in this part of the galaxy. They had the biggest ships, the best weapons, and the most advanced technology. But looking at the Leviathan, he was not so sure anymore. Very well, Captain Martinez, I will speak with Admiral Sullivan. But I want to make something clear. This is Federation space. Your people have no legal claim to these systems. Captain. Martinez nodded politely. I understand your position, Admiral. I think Admiral Sullivan will be very interested in discussing territorial claims with you. The communication ended and the bridge fell silent. Zektar stared at the human warship on his screen. Something about this whole situation felt wrong. Humans were supposed to be a primitive species that had barely left their home planet. Yet here they were with a ship that made his flagship look like a small patrol boat. Commander Velash, he said finally, send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them we have made contact with an unknown human military force. Request immediate backup. How many ships should I request, sir? Zektar looked at the Leviathan again. Its dark hull seemed to swallow the light from nearby stars. All of them. Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the command deck of the UES Leviathan, looking out through the massive windows at the alien fleet. His gray hair was cut short in military style, and his weathered face showed no emotion as he watched the Federation. Ships move into attack positions. Admiral, the alien commander wants to speak with you, said Communications Officer Don Cooper. Put him through. Sullivan replied without taking his eyes off the alien fleet. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Zektar on his bridge. The alien looked nervous, his 4 eyes darting around as he spoke. I am Admiral Zektar of the Galactic Federation Fleet. You are in violation of Federation space. Remove your vessel immediately or we will be forced to take action. Sullivan finally turned to face the screen. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady. Admiral Zektar, I am Jake Sullivan, commanding officer of this vessel. We are here to discuss territorial disputes between our governments. I suggest we handle this like civilized beings. There is nothing to discuss, Zektar said, his voice getting louder. These systems belong to the Federation. Your species has no claim here. I think you might be mistaken about that, Sullivan said. But if you want to settle this the hard way, that is your choice. Deep inside the Leviathan, engineer Katie Brooks was monitoring the ship's power systems. She sat in front of dozens of screens that showed energy readings beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. The ship's fusion reactors burned hotter than most stars, contained by gravity fields that bent space itself. Katie, how are we looking? Asked Chief Engineer Pete Anderson over the communication system. All systems are green, Chief, Katie replied. The reactors are running at only 5% capacity. We have plenty of power if things get ugly. Good. Keep monitoring those readings. The Admiral wants to know if we can handle whatever they throw at us. Katie smiled as she looked at her screens. The alien ships were using energy weapons that were centuries behind human technology. Chief, I don't think they can even scratch our paint. Back on the bridge, Admiral Zektar was losing his patience. He had called for backup, but it would take hours for other Federation ships to arrive. He looked at his tactical officer. Commander Relton, show them our firepower. Maybe that will make them think twice. Yes, sir, Relton replied. He began targeting the human ship with every weapon they had on the Leviathan's bridge. Tactical Officer Alex Turner watched his screens with interest. Admiral, they are powering up weapons. Should I raise shields? Not yet, Sullivan said. Let them make the first move. I want to see what they can do. The Federation fleet opened fire. Bright beams of energy shot through space toward the human ship. Plasma cannons, particle beams, and fusion missiles all struck the Leviathan at the same time. The light show was visible from planets in nearby systems. Admiral Zektar watched the attack with satisfaction. No ship could survive that much firepower. But as the light faded, his satisfaction turned to horror. The Leviathan was completely undamaged. Worse than that, the ship's hull was actually glowing brighter than before, as if it had absorbed all the energy from their weapons. "Impossible," whispered Commander Valash. "Nothing can survive that kind of attack." "Run another scan, Zektar?" "Ordered. There must be some damage." Alex Turner looked at his readings and shook his head. "Admiral, their weapons are actually charging our batteries. The adaptive shielding is converting their energy into power for our systems." "How much power?" "Did we gain?" Sullivan asked. "About 2%, sir." "Not much, but it's something," Sullivan nodded. "Open a channel to the alien fleet." The screen showed Admiral Zektar again. This time, the alien looked scared. "Admiral Zektar," Sullivan said calmly, "that was impressive. Is that the best you can do? How's your ship undamaged?" Zektar demanded. "Human engineering," Sullivan replied. "We have been preparing for this day for a long time. Your weapons are interesting, but they are not very effective against our defensive systems. That is impossible. Those were our most powerful weapons." Sullivan turned to Alex Turner. "Commander, show them what our defensive systems recorded." The main screen split in two. On one side was Admiral Zektar. On the other side was a detailed analysis of every weapon the Federation had fired. The screen showed energy signatures, firing patterns, and weak points in their weapon designs. "We have analyzed every shot you fired," Sullivan explained. "Our computers have already designed countermeasures for each weapon type. If you attack us again, we will be even more prepared." Commander Valash looked at her screens in shock. "Admiral, they have detailed scans of all our weapon systems. They know everything about our technology." Admiral Zektar felt his foreheart sinking. Not only had their attack failed completely, but the humans had learned everything about Federation. "Military technology in just a few minutes. What do you want?" Zektar asked quietly. "Right now, we want to talk," Sullivan said. "But if you keep attacking us, we might have to respond." "Respond how?" Sullivan smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. "Admiral, you just showed us your best weapons. Would you like to see some of ours?" Before Zektar could answer, something happened that made his blood run cold. 3 more human ships appeared on his screens. They were much smaller than the Leviathan, but they had been completely invisible to Federation sensors until now. "Where did those ships come from?" demanded Commander Relton. "They were there the whole time," Sullivan said. "You just could not see them. Human stealth technology is quite advanced." Katie Brooks, still monitoring the power systems deep in the ship, received new orders from the bridge. "Katie, the Admiral wants to know if we can power up the gravity beam." "Which one, Chief?" Katie asked. "The small one." "He does not want to scare them too much," Katie laughed. "Even their smallest gravity weapon could pull a moon out of orbit." "Gravity beam is ready, Chief. Just give me the target." On the bridge, Admiral Sullivan looked at the alien fleet one more time. "Admiral Zektar, I am going to give you one more chance to discuss this peacefully. If you attack us again, we will have to show you why that would be a mistake." Admiral Zektar looked around his bridge. His officers were all staring at him, waiting for orders. The humans had just proven that Federation weapons were useless against them. Even worse, they had ships that could appear and disappear at will. "Stand down weapons," Zektar ordered quietly. "Sir?" Commander Relton asked. "I said stand down all weapons," Zektar repeated. "We need to think about this." "Admiral." Sullivan nodded approvingly. "A wise decision, Admiral. Now, shall we talk?" Admiral Zektar stared at the human fleet on his screen. The massive Leviathan sat quietly in space, but he could feel its power like heat from a fire. His hands shook as he tried to decide what to do next. The Federation had never faced an enemy like this before, Admiral, Commander Valash said quietly. "We are receiving reinforcements. Admiral Korth's battle group is approaching from Sector 9. Zektar felt a spark of hope. Admiral Korth commanded the Federation's most powerful fleet. 12 heavy battleships and 30 escort vessels. Surely that would be enough to deal with one human ship, no matter how advanced it was. How long until they arrive? Zektar asked. 10 minutes, sir. On the bridge of the Leviathan, Admiral Sullivan was reading reports from his intelligence officers. Lieutenant Amy Clark handed him a datapad with information about the approaching Federation ships. Admiral, we have 12 more alien warships coming in fast. They will be here soon. Sullivan looked at the data and nodded. Any of them bigger than the ships we already faced? Yes, sir. The lead ship is about 4 kilometers long. Much bigger than anything we have seen so far. Interesting, Sullivan said. He turned to his tactical officer. Commander Turner, are you getting good scans of these new ships? Alex Turner checked his instruments. Yes, sir. Their technology appears to be the same as the first group. Maybe slightly more advanced, but not by much. Good, let them come. I want to see what the Federation considers their best. Deep in the ship's engineering section, Katie Brooks was making final adjustments to the gravity beam systems. Chief Engineer Pete Anderson walked over to her station. Katie, the Admiral wants to know if we can grab one of their ships without hurting it. Sure, Chief. The gravity beam can be set to very low power. We could pick up their biggest ship like it was a toy. Perfect. Get ready to do that when the Admiral gives the word. Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Phillips was aboard the human escort frigate Swift Arrow. His ship was much smaller than the Leviathan, but it carried weapons that could destroy planets. He watched the approaching Federation fleet with professional interest. Captain, said his weapons officer, we are getting targeting data from the Leviathan. They want us to be ready to disable the alien ships if needed. Understood, Phillips replied. Load the rail guns with non-lethal rounds. We want to disable them, not destroy them. Admiral Korth's fleet dropped out of hyperspace in a perfect attack formation. The alien commander was known throughout the galaxy for his tactical skills and ruthless efficiency. He took one look at the human ships and immediately ordered a full assault. All ships, open fire, Korth commanded. Destroy the large vessel first. The combined firepower of 13 Federation fleets lit up space like a small sun. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma charges all struck the Leviathan at once. The attack was 10 times more powerful than the first assault. Admiral Sullivan watched the light show with calm interest. Commander Turner, damage report. No damage, sir. Our shields absorbed everything. We are actually running at higher power now than when we started. Excellent. Signal Captain Phillips. Tell him to demonstrate our point defense systems. The human escort ship suddenly came alive. Weapons that had been completely hidden from alien sensors emerged from their hulls. Rail guns that could fire. Projectiles at nearly the speed of light began targeting Federation vessels with surgical precision. The first shot hit Admiral Korth's flagship right in the engine section. The projectile passed completely through the ship without exploding, but it destroyed every power system it touched. The mighty battleship went dark and began drifting in space. What was that? Korth shouted. How did they penetrate our shields? His tactical officer looked at his screens in confusion. Sir, I do not think they used energy weapons. It appears to be some kind of physical projectile moving at incredible speed. The human ships continued their demonstration. One by one, Federation vessels found themselves crippled by weapons they could not even detect until after they were hit. Within minutes, half the alien fleet was dead in space. Admiral Zektar watched in horror as the most powerful fleet in Federation space was disabled in less than 5 minutes. The humans had not destroyed a single ship, but they had made it clear that they could have. Admiral Sullivan, Zektar said over the communication channel, please stop this attack. We surrender. I am not attacking you, Admiral, Sullivan replied. Calmly, I am simply demonstrating why continued hostility would be unwise. Dr. Emma Watson, the expedition's science officer, was monitoring alien communications from her station on the Leviathan. She had been listening to the panic spreading through the Federation fleet. Admiral, she reported, their communications. show complete confusion about our technology. They cannot understand how our weapons work. That is the idea, Doctor. What else are they saying? They are requesting emergency assistance from their homeworlds. It sounds like they think we are some kind of ancient weapon system that has awakened. Sullivan smiled. Not ancient, Doctor. Just very well prepared. Admiral Korth's voice came over the communication system. Human vessels, this is Admiral Korth of the Federation Defense Force. What are your demands? We have no demands, Admiral. Sullivan replied. We simply want to discuss territorial boundaries like civilized beings. After what you just did to my fleet? Admiral, if I wanted to destroy your fleet, it would already be gone. Every shot we fired was carefully aimed to. Disable your ships without killing your crews? That should tell you something about our intentions. Commander Vilash looked at her damage reports. Admiral Zektar, they are right. All our disabled ships report minimal casualties. They could have killed everyone, but they chose not to. Zektar felt a chill run down his spine. The humans were not just more advanced than the Federation. They were so far ahead that they could afford to show mercy. Admiral Sullivan, Zektar said quietly, what do you want to discuss? Territory, trade agreements, and mutual cooperation, Sullivan replied. But first, I think we need to clear up some misconceptions about human capabilities. What misconceptions? Sullivan nodded to Alex Turner, who activated the gravity beam at its lowest setting. The beam reached out across space and gently grabbed Admiral Korth's disabled flagship. The massive battleship, weighing millions of tons, began moving slowly toward the Leviathan. By the ancient gods, whispered one of Zektar's officers. They are moving his ship with some kind of tractor beam? Not exactly, Sullivan said. We are using controlled gravity fields to move your ship. The same technology we use for propulsion and artificial gravity on our vessels. Admiral Korth's panicked voice filled the communication channel. My ship is being pulled toward the human vessel. I cannot stop it. You are perfectly safe, Admiral, Sullivan assured him. We are simply demonstrating that we can manipulate matter and energy in ways that your technology cannot counter. The Federation officers watched in stunned silence as the human ship held a 4-kilometer battle cruiser motionless in its gravity field. The demonstration lasted for several minutes before Sullivan ordered the alien ship released. Gentlemen, Sullivan said as Admiral Korth's ship drifted free, I hope this makes our position clear. We are not here to conquer or destroy anyone, but we will not allow continued expansion into human space. Admiral Zektar looked around his bridge. His officers were all staring at him, waiting for his decision. The choice was simple, negotiate with the humans or face complete destruction. Admiral Sullivan, Zektar said finally, we are ready to discuss your territorial claims. News of the human encounter spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within hours, every major world in the Federation knew that an unknown species had effortlessly defeated 2 entire battle fleets. Emergency sessions were called on a dozen planets. As governments tried to understand what this meant for galactic civilization, Admiral Zektar received a priority message from Federation High Command. Supreme Admiral Turville appeared on his screen, his ancient face showing deep concern. Admiral Zektar, we have received your reports about the human vessels. High Command finds these claims difficult to believe. With respect, sir, I wish they were not true, Zektar replied. But we have recorded everything. The humans have technology that makes our most advanced systems look primitive. We are sending the 3rd Defense Fleet to your position. Admiral Margoth will assume command of the situation. Zektar felt his heart sink. Admiral Margoth was known for his aggressive tactics and hatred of non-Federation species. If anyone would escalate this situation into a real war, it would be him. Sir, I strongly recommend against any aggressive action. These humans have shown they can destroy us easily, but they have chosen not to. We should negotiate. The Federation does not negotiate from a position of weakness, Admiral. Prepare for Admiral Margoth's arrival. The communication ended, leaving Zektar staring at a blank screen. He looked around his damaged bridge and wondered if he would live to see another day on the human science vessel Discovery. Captain Nicole Hayes was having the time of her life. She had spent 20 years studying alien technology, and now she had access to actual Federation military hardware. "Dr. Martinez, look at these energy readings," she said to her chief scientist. "Their weapons are based on principles we figured out 50 years ago." Dr. Carol Martinez examined the data on her screen. "It is like looking at museum pieces. No wonder our shields had no trouble with their attacks." "The interesting part is their ship design," Hayes continued. "They build everything for show rather than function. Look at all these decorative elements that serve no purpose." "That explains why their ships are so big but so weak. They prioritize appearance over engineering efficiency." Deep in the Federation's home system, emergency meetings were taking place in government buildings on a dozen worlds. The news that a single alien ship had defeated their most powerful fleets was causing panic in the civilian population. On the planet Zephyria, the Federation Council was in heated debate. Council leader Ralef stood before the assembled representatives. "Fellow council members, we face a crisis unlike any in our history. If these reports are accurate, we are dealing with a species far more advanced than our own." "The reports must be wrong," declared Councillor Vextar. "No species could be that much more advanced than us. The Federation has the most sophisticated technology in the galaxy." "Perhaps we did until today," Ralef replied grimly. Meanwhile, Admiral Margoth was approaching the battle zone with the largest fleet ever assembled in Federation history. 150 warships, including the massive dreadnought Galaxy's Wrath. Margoth was confident that no alien force could stand against such overwhelming numbers. "Admiral, we are receiving long-range scans of the human vessels," reported his tactical officer. "How many ships do they have?" "Only 4, sir. 1 very large vessel and 3 smaller escorts." Margoth laughed. 4 ships against 150? This will be over quickly." Back on the Leviathan, Admiral Sullivan was reading intelligence reports from Earth. Colonel Sam Davis, the ship's Marine commander, entered the bridge with the latest updates. "Admiral, Earth Command has authorized full disclosure protocols. They want the aliens to understand exactly what they are dealing with." "Excellent," Sullivan replied. "It is time to show them the bigger picture." Dr. Emma Watson looked up from her communication console. "Admiral, I am intercepting messages between the alien worlds. They are sending another fleet. Much larger than the previous ones." "How much larger?" "Over 100 ships, sir, including something they call a dreadnought." Sullivan nodded calmly. "Signal the Discovery. Tell Captain Hayes to prepare the demonstration package." "Which package, sir?" "All of them." Admiral Margoth's fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. The sight was impressive even to the human observers. 150 warships arranged in attack patterns that had been perfected over centuries of warfare. "Human vessels," Margoth broadcast. "You are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Admiral Sullivan appeared on the alien communication screens. "Admiral Margoth, I presume. I am Jake Sullivan. Before you do anything you might regret, I would like to show you something." "You are in no position to make demands, human. This is not a demand. It is a courtesy. Dr. Watson, activate the deep space scanners." Suddenly, every Federation ship's sensors lit up with new contacts. Hundreds of them approaching from multiple directions. The objects were moving faster than anything in the Federation database and appeared to be arriving from outside the galaxy itself. "What are those contacts?" Margoth demanded. "Those are human colonies, Admiral," Sullivan replied calmly. "We have been expanding through this region of space for over 70 years. What you are seeing are cargo ships, passenger vessels, and patrol craft going about their normal business." Commander Velash looked at her updated sensor readings with growing horror. "Admiral Zektar, if these are just their civilian ships, how many military vessels do they have?" "I am afraid to find out," Zektar whispered. Captain Hayes activated the next part of the demonstration. Suddenly, space around the Federation fleet filled with new signatures. Dozens of human warships decloaked simultaneously, revealing that they had been surrounding the alien fleet the entire time. Admiral Margoth, Sullivan continued, what you attacked earlier were not our main battle fleet. Those were diplomatic escorts. Would you like to see what a real human battle group looks like? The largest human warships began to appear on the Federation sensors. Ships that made the Leviathan look small by comparison. Massive vessels that seemed to bend space around them just by existing. Impossible, Margoth stammered. How many ships do you have? In this sector? About 3,000 combat vessels? Galaxy-wide? Well, that would be telling. Dr. Martinez activated the final demonstration. High above the battlefield, space itself seemed to tear open. Through the rift came something that made every Federation officer question their understanding of physics. It was a space station the size of a small moon, moving through dimensions that should not exist. Manufacturing facilities covered its surface, and as they watched, they could see new human warships being constructed in real time. That is Shipyard Gamma 7, Sullivan explained. One of our smaller manufacturing facilities. It can build a Titan-class warship in about 6 hours. Admiral Margoth stared at the impossible sight. His fleet of 150 ships suddenly seemed very small and very weak. What do you want from us? He asked quietly. We want peace, Admiral, but we want it on our terms. Colonel Davis stepped forward. Admiral Sullivan, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 alien vessels. They are requesting immediate ceasefire. Granted. Signal all human vessels to stand down weapons. Sullivan turned back to the communication screen. Admiral Margoth, I think it is time for some honest conversation. You have now seen a tiny fraction of human military capability. We have been watching your Federation for decades, studying your technology and your tactics. Why? Margoth asked. Because we knew this day would come eventually. When two expanding civilizations meet, there are only two possible outcomes, cooperation or conquest. We prefer cooperation. Admiral Zektar found his voice. What kind of cooperation? The kind where everyone benefits, Sullivan replied. The Federation has resources and knowledge that would be useful to us. In return, we can offer you protection and technology that will advance your civilization by centuries. And if we refuse, Sullivan's expression became cold. Then we will take what we need and leave you to figure out the rest on your own. But I think you are smart enough to see which option serves your people better. The communication channel fell silent as the Federation commanders contemplated their choice. Around them, human ships continued to appear from nowhere, each one a reminder of how completely outmatched they were. Finally, Admiral Margoth spoke. What are your terms? Admiral Sullivan stood in the main conference room of the Leviathan, looking out at the stars through the massive viewing windows. In just a few hours, everything had changed. The Federation fleet sat quietly in space, their commanders waiting to hear humanity's terms for peace. Strategic advisor Carol Martinez entered the room carrying a datapad filled with reports from Earth Command. Behind her walked Intelligence Director Ben Rodriguez, whose team had been analyzing Federation technology and military doctrine for decades. Admiral, Martinez said, we have final authorization from Earth. The President has approved the integration protocols. Good, Sullivan replied. What about the other colonies? Mars Command agrees with our assessment. The outer colonies are ready to begin Phase 2 expansion whenever you give the word. Ben Rodriguez set up a holographic display showing the galaxy's political structure. Admiral, our analysis shows the Federation controls about 12% of this galactic sector. There are over 300 other species that are not part of their alliance. Interesting. Are any of them technologically advanced? A few show promise, but none are anywhere near Federation levels. Most are still developing basic spaceflight. Sullivan nodded. The plan was working perfectly. Humanity had spent over a century preparing for this moment, and now they were ready to take their rightful place as the galaxy's dominant species. In the Federation fleet, emergency meetings were taking place on every ship. Admiral Margoth had called together all his senior commanders to discuss their options. The mood in the conference room was grim. "Gentlemen," Margoth said, "we need to face reality. The humans have technology that is hundreds of years ahead of ours. Fighting them would be suicide." "But if we surrender, what happens to the Federation?" asked Admiral Korth. "That depends on their terms," Margoth replied. "Admiral Zektar, you have dealt with them the longest. What is your assessment?" Zektar looked tired. His 4 eyes showed the strain of the past few hours. "They are not like us. They do not fight for glory or conquest. They fight like scientists solving a problem." "What do you mean?" "Every action they have taken has been calculated to achieve maximum effect with minimum effort. They could have destroyed all our fleets in the first attack, but they chose to disable us instead. That tells me they have long-term plans that require us to be alive." Meanwhile, Dr. Patricia Lee, the Human Expedition's chief scientist, was preparing her presentation for the Federation commanders. She had studied galactic civilization for 30 years, waiting for this opportunity to reshape it according to human principles. "Dr. Lee," Admiral Sullivan said over the communication system, "are you ready to present our terms?" "Yes, Admiral. I think they will find our offer quite reasonable. Remember, we want partners, not slaves. The Federation will be much more useful to us if they cooperate willingly." "Understood, sir." The formal negotiations began 2 hours later. Representatives from both fleets gathered in the Leviathan's main conference room. The Federation delegation included Admirals Margoth, Zektar, and Korth, along with several civilian officials who had arrived via emergency transport. Admiral Sullivan sat at the head of the table, flanked by his senior staff. The human delegation looked calm and confident, while the alien representatives seemed nervous and uncertain. "Gentlemen," Sullivan began, "let me be direct. The age of Federation dominance in this sector is over. The question now is whether we move forward as partners, or whether humanity assumes control through other means." "What exactly are you proposing?" asked Admiral Mar. "Goth. Dr. Lee activated a holographic display showing the galaxy's current political boundaries. The Federation will maintain control of its core systems and continue to govern its member species. However, all expansion into new territories will require human approval." "That is unacceptable," declared a Federation civilian official. "You cannot restrict our growth." Ben Rodriguez smiled coldly. "Actually, we can. We have already established monitoring stations in over 50 systems that you consider unclaimed territory. Our colonies have been there for decades." The Federation delegation looked shocked. They had believed they were exploring empty space, but the humans had been there all along. "Furthermore," Dr. Lee continued, "the Federation will provide us with complete access to your technology, trade networks, and scientific research. In return, we will share selected human technologies that will advance your civilization significantly." "Selected technologies?" Zektar asked. "We will not give you weapons that could threaten us, obviously. But we can offer you medical advances, communication systems, and manufacturing techniques that will improve life for your people." Admiral Korth leaned forward. "What guarantees do we have that you will honor this agreement?" Carol Martinez answered that question. "Admiral, we could have conquered the entire Federation in the time it took us to have this meeting. The fact that we are offering you partnership instead of demanding surrender should tell you something about our intentions." "You are asking U.S. to become a junior partner in our own territory," Margoth said bitterly. "No," Sullivan replied. "We are asking you to accept reality. Humanity is now the dominant species in this region of space. You can work with us and prosper, or you can oppose us and be swept aside. The choice is yours." The Federation delegates requested a recess to discuss the terms privately. While they debated, the human delegation reviewed their next steps. "Admiral," Ben Rodriguez said, "our scouts report that news of this encounter has reached at least 40 other species. Several are requesting contact with us directly. Let them wait, Sullivan replied. We need to finish with the Federation first. What? About the other human fleets. Admiral Chun's battle group is requesting permission to begin operations in Sector 12. Tell her to proceed. It is time to show the galaxy that this was not an isolated incident. When negotiations resumed, Admiral Margoth looked defeated. We accept your terms, he said quietly. Excellent, Sullivan replied. Dr. Lee will provide you with the formal documentation. We will begin implementation immediately. Over the next several hours, the details were worked out. The Federation would maintain its government structure but acknowledge human supremacy in all military matters. Human advisors would be stationed on major Federation worlds to ensure compliance with the new agreements. As the Federation fleet prepared to depart, Admiral Zektar approached Sullivan one last time. Admiral, may I ask you something? Of course. How long have you been planning this? Sullivan smiled. Since the day we first detected your radio signals. We have been preparing for this moment for over 100 years. 100 years? Zektar was stunned. Humanity does not do anything without careful preparation, Admiral. We studied your technology, your military tactics, your political structure, and your psychology. By the time we revealed ourselves, we already knew exactly how this encounter would end. And the other species in the galaxy? We have been studying them too. Over the next few years, you will see human fleets making contact with dozens of civilizations. Some will join us willingly. Others will need more convincing. Zektar felt a chill run through his body. You are planning to conquer the entire galaxy. Not conquer, Sullivan corrected. Unite. Under human leadership, this galaxy will become more peaceful and prosperous than ever before. Your people will benefit from our protection and our technology. And if we resist, Sullivan's expression became cold, then you will learn why resistance is futile. As the Federation fleet departed, Admiral Sullivan received a message from Earth Command. The President herself appeared on his screen. Congratulations, Admiral. Phase 1 is complete. You may begin Phase 2 operations. Thank you, Madam President. What are our next targets? The Centauri Alliance and the Free Worlds Coalition. Intelligence reports they are forming a defensive pact against us. Sullivan nodded. How many ships should I request? Take whatever you need, Admiral. It is time for the galaxy to learn that humanity's patience has limits. As the Leviathan turned toward deep space, its destination set for the next phase of human expansion, Admiral Sullivan looked out at the stars one last time, in just a few short hours. Humanity had announced its arrival as the galaxy's new dominant species. The age of human galactic supremacy had begun.